This is really interesting here. So many patterns that I see founders fall into, and one thing I've noticed. So you're a gambler, I can tell, right? You're willing to take a big bet, and a lot
But
of founders.
I wouldn't
Huh,
say I am so much. I'm
hmm,
willing to take the risk, but it also
yeah,
comes from understanding where the puck is going
right,
by being in this segment. As in, like, I know this segment like the back of my hand. So because
right,
I've been
right.
in it,
I
and
guess what I mean is, so maybe not gambler in that sense, but a risk taker in that you're willing to bet the farm. You're willing to bet everything
yeah,
for what you believe is the path in the future,
yeah.
right? Willing to sacrifice your customers, your market position, everything. You say that if that's not the future and this is, then it doesn't even exist. It's gone and we don't even know it yet, right? And we just have to chase the future. That's really amazing.
This sunk cost fallacy is written into our
Hmm.
value system in the company. So
Really.
you might have done great work yesterday,
Hmm.
but if the fundamentals have changed, we assign zero value to it.
Right, right. And
We
this is
start
the
from
thing I
there.
think I see that a lot of founders fall into. You have to be a risk taker to be a founder. But if you're also afraid to lose, if you're afraid to fail, then whatever it is that you've built, and it could be market position, it could be customers, it could even be just a feature, some code that you spent some time and effort building, they're afraid to give it up and start from scratch because they feel that as some kind of failure, some kind of loss. But by being willing to, like you said, put a zero value on what came before and say all that matters is what's going to take us into the future. Yes, you do absolutely risk losing, but
Yeah,
you're more likely to win, right? And you're not going to sort of hang on to your precious as you're,
yeah,
falling into the pits of Mordor. I don't know where,
exactly, exactly.
yeah, where that analogy just came from, but
Still a lot of the rings fan. Fair enough.
yeah, it works.
Um,
So that's interesting. So how do you get that conviction?
so it's so one, you have to have messed up earlier.
Okay.
Then you really have that, as in, uh, you you are. So I am more afraid of not being relevant in the
Hmm.
future versus being, because, so if you look at our position now in this space, right? So there's a few large players that have emerged, you know post COVID, and we were a smaller player at that time. We are a slightly bigger player now, in this
Hmm.
this visual collaboration space, but it's we're not market leader, right?
Hmm.
The market leaders now have different challenges because the space has become commoditized. They have to figure out how do we stay relevant in the future, and to ensure that they continue to grow. That's a different problem. But
Hmm.
since we are not, right, and we took a conscious decision to to forego this current wave of the market,
Hmm.
and actually aim for the AI enabled, data driven market that is coming in, is probably going to go mainstream in 2025, right?
Hmm.
To 25, 27. That's my guess, right? We want to be at the top of that one, and that's what we're pitting. That's what we're working for. So
Wow.
it's
Huh.
picking the market that's coming, because you're not, if you so you have a you have a good business right now, but it's not a home run business.
Hmm.
So it's a decision whether you want to have a good running business, or do you want to a home run, and we have opted for the home run,
Yeah.
while maintaining our bread and butter on the fallacies in business. So that is, obviously, when you take the eye off the ball, that segment does not grow, but it has been. So our strategy was that this is big enough to sustain us until we
Mhm.
get to the next milestone.
Yeah. Wow. True innovator. Being willing to forego the success of the present to be positioned, strategically positioned as the leader in the next wave that may not come for 5 years. That's pretty amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, so as in it's it's happening now. So it's
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and so we are doing some great work with some partners, and we are we are rolling out these new capabilities out, and now unlike a decade ago, people are loving what we're giving them, and now
Yeah.
we also know who to ask and what to give people, and even bringing artificial intelligence into visual collaboration. There are so some of our computers have announced what they're doing and so on. As in, so we look at it from a perspective of how do we really accelerate collaboration with with AI, and
Mm-hmm.
how do you ensure continuity of work with AI, and those questions which we are now piloting with some partners are is actually groundbreaking in terms of like what it enables teams to do. It allows you to go from like having, so right now LLMs allow you to summarize things or think of new ideas, but going from those summaries or identifying action items or from a conversation and so on to something that is actionable, uh, and because you still get people together to AI might have generated 5 ideas for you, but how do you go from there to actually running the project,
Mm-hmm.
elaborating on the things that you got, this flow of work, even though there's ChatGPT, it hasn't replaced this flow of work. So how do you build tooling around this
Yeah.
is a valid and a very large value problem
Yeah.
that we have invested years of R&D into,
Wow.
that should be okay to go for.
So yeah. So you mentioned your system of values when you talked about the sunk cost fallacy, and I'd love to hear more about your values and leadership principles.
Okay, so we've aligned the company around growth and trust.
Mm-hmm.
So first thing is, first value we have in the company is, everyone should be aiming for growth on a personal
Mm-hmm.
and whatever you do, there should be growth. Otherwise, you're not really doing anything much. And the the second value in our system is called because. Basically, every decision should be explainable to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
This anyone who in the team can ask a question why, and there should be an answer to it, a why. The moment that you don't have answers, right, you don't want to give an answer, is when you create this that's when unwanted politics come into play,
Mm-hmm.
particularly for a small organization. And I don't want to tell you why we made that decision, because that's above your pay grade, is not something that you want to have in a fast-moving agile company. So that value alone, I think, keeps everyone sane and builds a completely different kind of culture inside a team. Because I love saying because it helps explain your thinking, and it also sort of reinforces and makes everybody rethink why they made a decision continuously.
Mm-hmm.
So some people say you need to be data driven, right? But not sometimes not everything is data, right?
Mm-hmm.
But being able to break down your decisions and get into it, and making that the norm for people to be able to ask that question is
Yeah.
very important in an organization.
So a culture of growth and transparency. That's
Exactly.
definitely a
That's
good
that's
recipe.
another
Yeah.
nicer way to put it. So Yeah, and then the other things are, about iterating continuously, and not really investing a lot of things on what has been done. Sort of like the it's day one sort of
Yeah. A
policy.
truly agile company
Yes.
in the
So as
process
in
improvement. Yeah.
we because when you're a smaller team, you have to be agile to stay relevant in the market. The It's because you're if you're not market relevant, right? And particularly in tech, it's very easy for you to be swept under. Uh, you might have
Yeah.
customers, but
You've got that underdog
yeah,
hunger in you, right?
yeah, yeah.
Awesome. What about you personally? What do you think, when, again, your own personal leadership principles, the way you show up to your team, the way you make decisions, what are the principles that drive you?
That's a very interesting question. So I try to be yeah, as in, so the foundational thing for me is that I try and be present in the if I'm having a conversation, I try to be present, right? That's something that you know that's missing in a lot of conversations. I don't know if this is a good answer. I'm trying to rewind that back, but it was I didn't think about it. But again, if I really think about it, let me think. Yeah, I would revert back to one understanding before making a decision, right? Understanding the context of where things are, and uh, giving taking the full picture in, right? Which
Hmm.
is usually quite challenging, given when you have so many signals, and bringing in this factor of so the other thing that we as a company value and on a personal basis that I do is I try and give the benefit of the doubt to each and every person, even if that person was wrong yesterday,
Hmm.
right? So by putting yourself out there and putting that sort of faith in the other person to be doing the right thing, to have the right judgment, to make the right call on this thing, or to be a good person, right? By giving that option out, you tend to get much better results, and you have to end up leading a better life, basically, right?
Hmm.
So this sunk cost fallacy that I that I talk about applies to on a personal basis as well. I don't really care about what you did yesterday,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I expect that you're going to do the right thing today. That's I think that basically drives me a lot as a person, I would say.
That's a great positive outlook.
Yeah.
So I'm an executive coach. I've worked with tech founders for almost 20 years now,
Oh, okay.
and this is one of the areas that I focus on a lot, which is developing trust in your team. And the way I kind of position it is, you have to trust your team. It's a non-negotiable. It's the way you do business. By not trusting your team, you slow everything down, right? You're second guessing, you're creating a culture of fear. And by trusting your team, you're giving people the opportunity to grow and take more accountability and ownership and so on. And so the pushback that I often get is, well, what if I trust somebody and they fail, right? And I say,
Yeah.
well, what if you what if you don't trust them? Then you're going to be the one that's always doing it, right? Or they're never going to have a chance to succeed. And so it's another form of risk taking, that you give people the chance to show you what they're made of, right? Show you what they can do. And if they fail, then so be it, right? Okay, you've learned that lesson. Now you know that if this person can't be trusted for whatever reason, maybe they need more training, maybe they need more guidance, support, or maybe they really just aren't a good fit for that role. But if you don't trust them, you'll never know.
Yeah.
And you're constantly, putting the bumpers on, right? Or constantly being a crutch for that individual. And that just absolutely doesn't scale.
Yeah.
So it's a big kind of a big mindset shift with my clients, especially the ones as they're growing out of the early stage founder role where they were responsible for doing everything and had their fingers in every pie and thought they were the best at all the different jobs. That transition to say, you know what? I'm not the best at everything. I don't have time to do everything. And the only way I can scale beyond, the few roles that I can inhabit is to trust people and be willing to take that risk.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. As in there's a and that sets this, this unlocks the same capability in these individuals as well to trust their own teams.
Exactly.
So it's a it's a nice virtuous cycle that you can unlock. There are limits to it. Once if they're not doing the right thing continuously, obviously there's a lesson learned in there. But most of the time it works out.
Right. I mean, at some point you got to take off the training wheels.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Definitely.
So one last question for you. Where do you think you need to grow as a leader in order to meet the next stage of challenges or the next stage of growth?
So we've been the underdog for a while, right? And we're constantly in this mode of, trying to change the narrative of where we're going. And there's a lot of flux in how we've done business. And where I need to grow and change as as things change. And so is the consistency and the follow up is what I would say, right? Following through a sustained market sort of thing, I would say, because I think that's where personally I need to really sort of. So it's so if you're in this innovative sort of wanna do something different sort of mindset, it is a challenge to look at the things that was done yesterday. Make sure that those were the right things that were done, right?
Okay, so you're saying the follow through.
Yeah.
So sticking with a strategy, sticking with a plan, and seeing it all the way through to completion, or perhaps supporting your existing bread and butter business when you want to go live in the future.
Exactly. So that's it's always a so it's two sides of the coin, but it is a challenge.
So the shiny object syndrome, right?
Yeah,
a lot of founders fall into it. That's really interesting. Do you have a an operational support group of VPs that can actually run the business of today while you go and live in the future?
I fortunately do have some have some partners in there that really help me do that. Otherwise, it's not going to be sustainable because you have it's two different mindsets, and you have to come with both mindsets into work. How I do it is I slot different times of the day for two types of work, and that's basically how I've split up my day. And I have others in the team who are able to help me with the latter part. So at least I know where I suck.
Yeah. So this is playing the long game, right?
Yeah.
You got to play out there in the future, but as you're building and growing the business of today, you have to operate it and sustain it.
Yeah.
Obviously with the help of some great VPs, right? Some great operators. Well, this has been a wonderful conversation, Chandika. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. Really great to hear about, the journey of Creately, but also, your own personal story as an innovator. This has been really enlightening. Thank you so much.